Hello, Camden Walker for Capital Weather Gang. I hope you are doing well. It is temperature is still pleasant out, but with this dry autumnal air, temperatures are going down a little bit quickly here as we approach sunset. Thanks so much for tuning in for our weekly sunset chat. We got up to 70 degrees at DCA Airport today, and more of the same generally continues, except a little bit warm, a little bit on the warm side of fall for Tuesday and Wednesday. Look at that. Wednesday, we could, I think, see near maybe around 80-degree temperatures in the region. So that's kind of a little bit of a pause on some of this autumnal air, but not too bad, not too bad. Rainfall, yes, some showers tonight mainly affect north and west of town, but nothing too heavy this week. This is a 7-day total of accumulation. We could see, yes, some more raindrops this upcoming weekend, but indications are that's not a sure thing. That's not going to add up to too much. So stay tuned to capitalweathergang.com as we go through this week. Generally looking dry, but we could see a few raindrops threaten some of those outdoor weekend plans, but don't reschedule anything at this time. Hey, Paul, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're doing well. Let me know if anyone has any questions or comments. We've got to also watch the tropics. It is still active. Hopefully we calm down next week, but not before. We've got Gamma swirling and kind of stalling out in the Gulf of Mexico, and it might drift into the Bay of Campeche this upcoming week, as you can see here. So not as much of a concern as the United States as what's behind it. You may have seen that X near Jamaica. So then we're looking at what could become Delta. And later this week, that could affect the central Gulf Coast. It is expected to develop into Tropical Storm Delta and affect the central Gulf Coast later this week. Still a lot needs to come together on timing, but we'll be watching that here at capitalweathergang.com, and make sure you're following us on Twitter at Capital Weather for the latest on that as well. Now, closer to home, it starts out very decent tomorrow again, kind of similar to today, around 70 degrees, as we had a high of 70 degrees at DCA today, and still about 65 degrees right now, so not too bad this evening. Hopefully you can get out for a quick walk before the sun completely sets here around 6:45 in a couple minutes. Now tomorrow, yes, we get some showers, some clouds that need to get out of here early in the morning, but still a pretty high rated day, I would say. And look at that warm up start a little bit on Tuesday, and then Wednesday we really warm up. Let's see if I can get that to properly display. Look at that, near 80 degrees, if not fully 80 degrees by Wednesday. So we take a brief pause on some of that refreshing autumnal air on Wednesday. Hey Sean, I think I agree with you. It's so beautiful outside. Hey Kit, thanks so much for tuning in. The haze in the sky this afternoon is some smoke from the west. I am glad you mentioned that. From airnow.gov, I've been following these smoke plumes from the western wildfires, and they are, as you can see here, affecting much of the nation. Luckily, not affecting our surface air quality, but overall, the atmospheric column does have some elevated, higher level smoke in the mid and upper level parts of the atmosphere. So you were not wrong, Kit, to be seeing some of this smoky hue in the sky. Even on a cloudy day about a week ago, I saw kind of a orange hue to the clouds in some spots. So it is there. Drew, depending on the track of Delta, could we have some severe weather? I don't think it's a sure bet on Delta. We're talking about 10 days from now, Drew. So I don't think that's even worth really much time just yet. Let's get it to the central Gulf Coast and see how it affects that region later this week into the early part of the weekend. But you always have a good nose for severe weather, Drew, so that's great. You may be onto something, but it is too early to say with any confidence how Delta may affect our area. Hey Gary, hope you are doing well. Here's the forecast at a glance for this week while I check your questions and comments. Not too bad around DC, though we do get a nice warm up Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe near 80 on Wednesday. So keep that in mind. We have a little bit of a pause on some of this crisp autumnal air. Sunrise, Sean, let's take a look at those times. It is getting later and later, as you know. 7:06 was the sunrise this morning, and right now the sun is setting here at 6:45 p.m. It is the Sunday Sunset Chats. I weekly do these as the sun sets on Sundays. You'll be talking to me about 10 minutes earlier next Sunday, so keep that in mind. I appreciate you tuning in. I'm Camden Walker for Capital Weather Gang. Anytime you need us, we're at capitalweathergang.com or latest forecast at cwg.news/latest, and we're following the tropics. The latest on Gamma is at cwg.news/Gamma, and I'll go over all of that in a moment. But Sean, I hope that if you were running around 7 a.m., you have a little bit of light there. But yes, sunrise is getting later and later. Drew, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll watch Delta if it affects our area next week, if at all. Thank you so much. And here the tropics are active. We're keeping an eye on things. Misha, it has been a nice week. And yes, Chris, I'm missing the later sun in the evenings as well. And Sean, indeed, 80 on Wednesday is possible. And yep, Gary, trees here are still green. So we'll talk about foliage in just a second. But here the tropics are active. We're not as concerned about Gamma, which looks closer to the United States. It's what's behind it there near Jamaica. That could turn into Tropical Storm Delta. And that's the next name on the list. And it could affect the central Gulf Coast by the end of this week. Strength and the exact timing is to be determined, but we'll keep you posted on Twitter at Capital Weather. Please follow us, and on the blog at capitalweathergang.com. So what else do we have for you? We're talking about fall foliage. Generally around here, yes, the trees are still going to be green for a little while longer. Late October, early November along here, the mid-Atlantic I-95 corridor, but we're running, I think, a little bit ahead of schedule this year. Here's what SmokyMountains.com thinks for roughly mid-October. October 19th, this is modeled, and we could see some peak foliage around the region by that point in a couple weeks. So keep that in mind. I've seen some foliage snapshots from West Virginia this weekend. It's looking nice over there as well. So let's see, we've got any heat waves this month, not to really speak of just yet. Rick, thank you so much for tuning in. Here is Wednesday, not exactly a heat wave, but yes, 80 degrees is possible on Wednesday, Rick. But let's look ahead for you since you're interested in the medium to longer term forecast. Here we look at next work week, starting on October 12th. Yes, a little bit above average. There is a decent chance of being above average. We don't necessarily know the magnitude of how much above average, but I will say that our average temperatures are coming down. So keep in mind right now, we are 72 degrees today for an average high temperature, but next week we get down to 70 degrees by the time you talk to me next Sunday. So when you're looking at this map, keep in mind that average is 70 degrees when thinking that there's a decent chance of being above average. That's not much of, if any, of a heat wave, Rick. So great question. Let's see, really appreciate you turning in, Ferdy. That is very kind of you. Thank you so much. Brad, long-term fall forecast is generally for above average temperatures to continue and not getting too cold too quickly. I don't foresee that happening too fast. Thanks so much, Rick. Appreciate you tuning in. And next weekend is looking, Stephanie, okay, maybe some raindrops, so keep that in mind. Our average high temperature as we get into next weekend is 70 degrees. We come down another couple degrees. Right now it's 72, and next Sunday when you talk to me, it is going to be 70. And yes, some raindrops are possible, but generally low to mid 70s for temperatures, and we'll keep you posted. But why we're not worried too much about rain, because we even can look at the rainfall accumulation over the next 7 days, and it's not much to speak of. A lot of this northwest of town falls tonight. And we even see some clouds, isolated showers tomorrow morning very early, but mostly sunny and dry by tomorrow afternoon. And yes, raindrops are possible, Stephanie, this upcoming weekend. But as you can see, so far, not much expectation for a big accumulation of rain at all, if any. So we remain fairly dry, and that's good if you have outdoor plans. And keep in mind, we're doing fine on rainfall. We have had over 1.5 inches above average since September 1st, and over 10.5 above average on rainfall since the beginning of the year. Here's the drought monitor. We're doing okay. North of us, not doing as well in Pennsylvania and especially New England, hurting pretty much, but the season outlook for us remains good. And over the last 7 days, all of us, this is looking backwards the last 7 days, we've all seen a decent amount of rain. So keep that in mind. Gardens are kind of happier, seeing a little bit less sun like we did in July and August when that evapotranspiration was super high, thanks to, and our soil was always dry, thanks to that high sun angle, which is slowly lowering, slowly but surely. So thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Cameron Walker for Capital Weather Gang. Here's the forecast at a glance while I look at your questions and comments. Still about 65, mid 60s for much of the region. Temperatures are going to go down. The air mass is still fairly dry, but it is after hitting 70 degrees at DCA Airport today, 68 at BWI and Dulles. It is still a decent evening, and I encourage you to get out ahead of clouds moving in overnight and even some early pre-dawn showers moving in as well, but not too much rain accumulation to speak of this week. And maybe some raindrops next weekend, but we're not too worried about that just yet. As you can see, pretty awesome week ahead. Warm up Tuesday, Wednesday, especially noticeable on Wednesday. We could hit 80 degrees again. Hey, Karen, thanks so much for tuning in. And Amy, thanks so much for tuning in. Very, very kind of you. And Gary, you are falling asleep with this kind of weather, but I like this kind of serene, calm weather to an extent. And high temperatures in the fall are generally coming in the mid to late afternoon, Stephanie. So somewhat earlier than the 5 to 6 p.m. time frame that we had just about a month ago, more in the summertime. So that's a great question. And still, the lowest temperatures are right around sunrise, if not in that few minutes after sunrise, because it takes a little bit for that sun to get high enough to really warm the ground, to warm our temperatures. Hey Karen, thanks so much for tuning in. I think we're going to have decent foliage. It's slowly popping in the region. I think we're running a little earlier than our average. So that's good news if you're getting impatient like I am and want to see some of this foliage pop in the region. West Virginia, you were looking good. I've seen some snapshots this weekend. And look at this model from SmokyMountains.com. We could see by October 19th some peak foliage in the region. And I think we're set up with decent enough amounts of rainfall. And we are an inch and a half above average on rainfall since September 1. And that's kind of good for supporting some brilliant colors. So keep the hope alive. We should see some foliage soon, and it should be decent. But I am not the biggest expert. I have to look to other sources, and so far I have not heard, Karen, any issues with our fall foliage colors and brilliance this year. Elizabeth, expect the first frost on average, and this year, so west of town has had their first frost already along the I-81 corridor. I think we've had even maybe 3 frosts, but typically we wait till November downtown. Here's average first freeze dates for the season. We are running about 2 to 3 weeks ahead of schedule along I-81, but generally you can see Central Virginia is kind of mid to late October, and then early November in the warmest parts of the Beltway. Even Charlottesville and Baltimore especially can run very late at those warm urban core centers. So keep that in mind. We are running a little bit ahead, but temperatures, I don't see them plummeting too much in the foreseeable future to offer a widespread frost or freeze. But of course, as we get toward Halloween, I think we all know the leaves really start falling. They need raking, and our gardens are kind of going a little bit dormant by then. So it's not going to be too much of a surprise if we see frosts and freezes come back in before Halloween. Stephanie, you're most welcome. Thanks so much for tuning in. All right, let's recap everything before I go in about 5 minutes or so. I'm Camden Walker for Capital Weather Gang. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going over our local week, looking awesome. Warm up coming in by Wednesday, Tuesday and Wednesday actually, but Wednesday is the most noticeable with near 80-degree temperatures, and rainfall is limited. Yes, some tonight. The bulk of this northwest of town that you see here on this map over the next 7 days, it actually does fall tonight. But our region could see, yes, some spits and showers of rain by pre-dawn hours this upcoming night into tomorrow morning, but clouds do clear when we're mostly sunny by tomorrow afternoon as well. The tropics are the other point of interest. We are not as concerned about Gamma, even though it looks like it's closer to the United States. It has stalled out near Mexico. It's kind of drifting in the Bay of Campeche southwestward there over this course of this week. It's behind it, that X over Jamaica, that has us most concerned. That could become our next named storm, Delta. And here's Gamma, though. Again, not much of a concern to recap. It kind of hangs out in the Gulf of Mexico and the Bay of Campeche this week. A rainmaker from Mexico, so they are keeping an eye on that in Mexico. Here's the potential tropical cyclone that could become Delta. Central Gulf Coast needs to definitely keep an eye out this weekend. And yes, even a viewer earlier, Drew, was keeping an eye on it for our region, but that's late next weekend into early week, if at all, for our region around DC. But we'll keep an eye on it at capitalweathergang.com. Follow us on Twitter at Capital Weather. But we're following all of this on the tropics. Go to our latest coverage on Gamma at cwg.news/Gamma. We are going to keep you posted. Now, near home, it looks very pleasant tomorrow. We do clear out by the end of kind of middle part of the day. Showers should move out very early, but our warm-up starts on Tuesday. Right behind it, we've got mid-70s perhaps on Tuesday, and then near 80 degrees on Wednesday. So let me pop that in. There we go. So 80 degrees is possible on Wednesday. Hey Laura, thanks so much for tuning in. You're most welcome. Hey Tina, you're enjoying this excellent weather. I'm so happy. Look at these temperatures still in the mid-60s here and most places around the region. We can expect some cooling fairly quickly as the sun has gone down. We were 70 degrees at DCA today, 68 at Dulles and BWI, but temperatures will kind of go down noticeably before the clouds move in. Oh, they are starting to move in. We do have some clouds and a nice sunset setting up, so send those pictures and tag us on Twitter at Capital Weather. but clouds do help keep us from getting too cold overnight. By the time we get to tomorrow morning, we do have some showers, but nothing too much. Pollen, not a big deal. We have a little bit of weeds, a little bit of mold. I'm feeling it periodically, but yep, we're doing okay on that front on our allergies. And yes, sunset gets earlier and earlier. We're at 6:45 tonight, and you'll talk to me about 10 minutes earlier next week, next Sunday, when I talk to you for our weekly Sunset Sundays, our Q&As that I love. So thanks so much for keeping an eye on as our sunset gets earlier. You'll talk to me a little earlier, near 5 p.m. coming up by Thanksgiving or so. It's crazy. Hey, Adrona, thanks so much for tuning in. I really like that name. That's fantastic. And I need to work on it. Hey, Liz, you're loving this weather. No rain coming anytime soon, right? Well, the rain front is limited. Tonight, especially northwest of town, you can see some rain indicated here. A few showers, pre-dawn hours around DC, but not too much to speak of. And yes, a couple raindrops are possible come this weekend, but overall the work week looks pretty dry. Most of this rain that you're seeing here falls northwest of town tonight. So even if we see some rain this upcoming weekend, it doesn't add up to much. So I hope that answers your question, Liz. Our gardens need a little bit of watering, but evapotranspiration rates are down, the sun angle is lower, and we're 1.5 inches above average on the rainfall since September 1st. And I can tell you we're not in a drought situation. We're not even abnormally dry just yet. And we've had a decent amount of rain. This is looking backwards over the last 7 days. We have had a decent amount of rain in the region. All right, so we are keeping an eye on things. Want to take some questions and comments. Here's the week at a glance, looking great, pretty fall-like, except a little warm up. By Wednesday, it's noticeable with near 80-degree temperatures. Hey, Charlene, you picked a great week for an RV trip. I agree. You got the logs stacked for a number of campfires. I'm loving that. Fantastic. And let's see, Liz, I hope I answered your question. And Jean, you're glad it will be warmer this week. Yes, so still fall like tomorrow, kind of feeling like today. We are at 70 degrees for a high temperature at DCA Airport, and we could be around 70 degrees again tomorrow. But yep, by Wednesday, Jean, you're gonna love that temperature regime near and around 80 degrees. But notice Thursday, Friday, we go right back to fall, and that's kind of the theme for the foreseeable future. We do think that temperatures kind of generally stay around our low 70s average for this time of year, if not a little bit below for Thursday and Friday. But this weekend, we should see 70 degrees and higher move in to the area again. Hey, Agnes, thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate that. And yep, let's see, I love that you have a great name, Adrondra. That's fantastic. All right, let me know if you have any other questions before I go in about 2.5 minutes. I'm Camden Walker for Capital Weather Gang. The week ahead looking great. Rain is limited. This is 7 days for the next week. You can see the accumulation is very limited, very little in our region. Northwest of town, you can see some of that rain tonight, but that's really about it for the week. The bulk of this falls tonight, very lightly around the region. Clouds and limited showers should move out tomorrow morning. And then, of course, further from home, we're looking at the tropics. Gamma, while it looks closer to the United States, is less of a concern. That red X is more of a concern at Jamaica right now, is where this potential tropical cyclone that could become Delta is forecast to strengthen. But first, Gamma, we are covering this at cwg.news/Gamma, or you can touch on my face and popping up below on your mobile device. You'll see all the links we're talking about in this broadcast. Gamma is kind of meander in the Gulf of Mexico and the Bay of Campeche, but the next storm behind it, potential tropical cyclone 26, it could become Delta by maybe even tomorrow. But at the end of the week, we're concerned by the central Gulf Coast could be slammed again along the Louisiana coast, but we'll see. As we get closer, please stay tuned to capitalweathergang.com and on Twitter at Capital Weather. And Lee, so far we're gonna do our winter outlook until closer to the Halloween to Thanksgiving timeframe, but we'll keep you posted at capitalweathergang.com. I know our snow lovers are getting anxious as the weather gets colder, so that's great. We will keep you posted for sure. So here's the high temperatures for tomorrow while I take some more questions and comments from you. Looking pretty good, similar to today, around 70 degrees. Dana, it was a great weekend. You were able to get your deck stained. That's fantastic. Got to use some of this calm, fair weather to get those outdoor chores done. And October in the Mid-Atlantic is indeed the best. It's some of our best weather of every year, and we cover that at cwg.news/nice days. Typical nice days are this time of year, and you can see that below. We cover that. I think I put the links here below, but we have that on capitalweathergang.com. That this time of year is like the #1 most frequent awesome time of year for weather. And then Tuesday, let's skip ahead and look at the mid 70s coming on Tuesday. That warm up is coming, and then it gets even warmer on Wednesday, near or maybe a little above 80 degrees for our high temperatures. And then pollen we've covered, not a big deal with weeds and mold, very limited. So I'm feeling periodically, I feel a little bit of something, but I hope you all are feeling okay as well. Allergy sufferers, fellow allergy sufferers. Sunset will be 10 minutes earlier next week about, so you'll talk to me a little earlier next week, but 6:45 p.m. right now. And we're losing about 2 minutes of day length every day. So keep that in mind, and keep an eye on the tropics with us this week. It remains active. Hopefully they calm down next week, and we don't have to talk about the tropics as much. So keep that in mind. We have a lot of material for you on capitalweathergang.com and on Twitter at Capital Weather. All the links we talked about are touching on my face. They'll pop up below on your mobile device or above on your laptop or desktop. And indeed, we could see Delta form in the next couple days, so keep that in mind. Your birthday month, excellent. I'm glad to hear that. Good weather on the 12th. I will keep my fingers crossed that drone, but it is going to generally be around average to above average as we look toward the medium-term forecast for next week, including your birthday on October 12th. An average high temperature next week is 70 degrees, so keep that in mind when looking at this map. It doesn't take much to be above average. It's not a heat wave when we think there's a decent probability of being above average, because our average temperature is going lower and lower. 72 today is our average, 70 next Sunday. All right, that's it from me. Let me show the forecast at a glance as I sign off. I'm Camden Walker for Capital Weather Gang. Thanks so much for tuning in. Jennifer, appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you. See you next Sunday. Stay tuned to capitalweathergang.com. We are covering everything from the wildfires, the smoke that continues to even affect our region, to the tropics that are going to probably affect the central Gulf Coast later this week as well. So take care, be safe, and bye for now.